It's Monkey Mania.
I've always been hesitant to put time into reviewing my Optimal Optimus toy because it's missing a few pieces and it's absolutely terrible, but picking up Primal Prime at last year's TF Nation, I've come around a little bit. Not much, you understand, it's been upgraded from terrible to less than terrible, but I've bravely gone on record a few times saying I've never really loved the Optimal Optimus colour scheme and the overall design never really did it for me either. Primal Prime comes in this red, white and blue deco that is meant to evoke the original G1 Optimus Prime, and while that makes sense, I never really got that impression from it, which might sound daft, but it's so far removed in terms of sculpt, I don't know. I do prefer it to the original though. There's a lot going on with the boy here, and in messing around with it, my biggest problem is there's just so much happening, it's difficult to keep track of what's on model and what isn't. And now you might be saying, oh Gavin, that doesn't matter, have fun with it. Who cares if a piece is mistransformed? Nice try, you fucking monsters. He's a big gangly lad with extremely clicky joints. He's one of those toys where you're really careful when you're handling him because you're positive it's going to set off one of the gimmicks by accident, you know? You know that way? It's a bit of a workout playing with this toy. The joints are pretty stiff after nearly quarter of a decade. The head sculpt's nice and fairly chunky, and even if I'm not mad for the design overall, those hands are always a delight to open and close. Gimmick-wise, we've got this button on the back. Push that, you get some lights that go whoomp through his teats and through his eyes. I like that. Nice and simple. Pull back on the plunger here and whoomph, we activate the missile nipples. Incredible. I think we're supposed to have 4 missiles, but if you don't fancy Primal here being a health and safety hazard, you can always store the extra missiles on his legs here. We've also got this large rifle, which has got a really nice red to silver gradient on it. I think this might actually be the nicest part of the set. Now look, listen. Ape law dictates above all, ape shall never kill ape, but almost as important, the vehicle modes on this design do not matter and should not be given more than 30 seconds apiece. The transformation is, well, it's not fun because it's not clear what you're supposed to end up with. Even looking at the instructions, you start to doubt yourself. You start to think, is this right? It can't be right because this is shite. But here's the ground assault mode, a kind of car, I suppose. You know, at least the wheels are a nice red chrome and the lights and the missiles still work. And then we have hypersonic attack mode next, which is our flight mode, and yeah, yep, that's shite too. The thing is, both of these modes don't really justify their existence, while causing the other modes to suffer in order to accommodate them. You know, I don't mind a Cybertronian mode, but these are so incoherent, they're not fun to interact with, and awkward to put together. I can promise you this toy will never see these modes again in my lifetime. Finally, the main event, for my money anyway, a big monkey. You know, the big shoulder pads, or blast panels as they're called in the instructions, come apart and you can attach them to the forearms, giving him some big soup bones to deal with. If you're so inclined, you can press the button and wahoo, they go flying off, never to be seen again. Pressing this lever on the back brings down the missile launcher. It's actually quite a fun mode, and it does save the whole thing from being largely garbage. Look at his wee face, you know, a maniac. But none of the modes feel particularly worth it to get there. I will say I enjoy the shoulders being attached to these circular pieces, and it makes quite a difference in the overall body shape and the height. It's not something you see a lot in Primals these days. I can't recommend it, but I can stand it, which is very brave of me, I know. And you can reward my bravery at www.patreon.com/TRDQ, just like our featured patron and fairly decent artist Jim Stafford, whose favourite toy is G1 Brainstorm, a toy I have never managed to acquire, despite my love for the original Autobot Headmasters. Maybe at TF Nation this year I can correct that oversight. Well, thanks again, Jim, and everyone who supports TRDQ, the greatest YouTube channel of all time. Not my words.